Have you ever found yourself starting something, perhaps something new, and then after a little bit of time you find yourself back to where you started? Or you've been trying this something for a while, trying to progress, but every time you progress just a little bit, you just start to where you started. In this episode, we're going to look into how to focus in the now, how to learn to use our progress to our advantage, and how to let go of the drawbacks and actually use them as our fuel for our progress. Welcome to another episode from Inside Treasures. My name is Phoebus and I love to challenge myself and those around me for the purpose of growth. This podcast is about helping you to heal, to change, and to grow. By listening to this episode, you will find out what it takes in order to take 2 steps forwards and 1 step backwards, and how that actually is not limiting, but it actually propelling you forward to your goal, to your vision of the self that you want to be, of the changes that you want to make. And you can make those changes by allowing yourself and understanding that sometimes there are drawbacks, sometimes we go a little bit backwards. But the key is not to get stuck in the fact that we went backwards and actually focus on moving consistently forward. When we feel like we're chasing our tail and we're going round and round and round and round, we're going into circles. And circles can be amazing, but when it comes to progress, when we're starting something new, when we want to drive ourselves forward and we keep finding ourselves going back to what we were doing, then we're not going in a linear fashion. We're not going towards the direction we want to go, but instead we feel like we're ending in the same spot. The trick with that is to actually learn to break the cycle, learn to move forward again, learn to do the steps that you did in order to start your journey, whatever that journey is for you. By learning to do that and remembering how we've broken the journey, how we've broken the cycle in the first place, then we can repeat and take the same steps. Now those steps will start moving us forward. But again, there's a big possibility that we'll end up to where we started. So later on, we'll understand what it is and why and what makes us go back to where we started. But our key is momentum. Our key is movement. Our key is starting. Whatever those steps were that we took in order to start and move forward, when we fall back, when we go the full circle, so to speak, we have to start again from that point. And sometimes, yes, we'll need to have the same strength, sometimes even more, because we've learned to demoralize ourselves after failure. Some of us have learned to actually, when we move forward and then we fail, that we're failures. Oh my goodness, there's another circle, I just relapsed, I'll never make it. The key is consistency. The key is when our foot goes backwards, we make sure we get in a position in order to take 2 steps forward. I remember years ago when I was a teenager, we went around with my friends and we managed somehow to rent some motorbikes. And we had fun. At first I wasn't driving much, but then slowly I wanted to drive a little bit as well. And then one day we were like 5 people, so we need to do an extra journey. And I decided that I was going to go, but I was hoping my other friend would come as well. What happened is my other friend said, well, I won't come and you go by yourself. We only need 1 person to bring 1 person. And I thought, fair enough, I'll just go and get them. I was driving towards the main road. Then I stopped, got ready, looked at the cars coming, and then I thought, okay, now I can go. But I was also rushing it a little bit. So what happened is I fell off the bike. And when I fell off the bike, I got really frightened. I thought, what happened? I was looking at myself. I had just a couple of really small scratches because I wasn't going really fast or anything. But what happened is it tricked my fear. There was danger, imminent threat. So I got afraid. What I did was I moved to the side of the road and then I called my friends and I said, come, because I just fell. So they came. And I remember something that stuck with me then. My friend said, I understand that you're afraid. But right now, you have to get back on the bike to drive it. And the lesson there was to get back on the bike. A lot of times, we fall off, but we have to get back on the bike. We have to keep going. We can't be afraid of all the things that come our way, of all the fallacies, of all the drawbacks that get in our way. Because he said then, if you don't get back on the bike now, you'll forever be afraid of it. So I decided, despite the fact that I was a bit in shock, I was going to get back on the bike. That doesn't mean I was going to be foolish on the bike, but I was willing to get back on the bike. And that's what all of us need to be willing to do. We got to be willing to get back on it, whatever that is, whatever the progress we're having a drawback. So what? Get back on the bike, 1 step backwards, 2 steps forwards. And that's the lesson of consistency. In one sense, we have to learn to break consistency, which is our old habits, our old patterns, our old behaviors, which again, they're consistent, they're repeatedly done time after time after time. And that's what puts us in that spin. That's what gives us that momentum that keeps us going back, because we've had that consistency of behavior in whichever area in your life you want to think of. We have been doing things in certain ways, whether it's in our relationships, whether it's in our finances, and we build those habits, whether it's in our work. And those habits actually control our life because they're consistent. So the minute we're willing to break that consistency, we meet with resistance. But now we want to build a new consistency. And that, of course, requires time. And time is a funny thing. Because the truth is, and when we really go into it, that there is only now. We only got now, and now, and now. And now is so short-lived, but now is also so long-lived. It's just that we have the ability to go back and forth in our mind and link time, which is amazing, and it can work to our benefit, but also it can work backwards. You can only let go of bad habits, of old behaviors, with new ones. A lot of times we're thinking of a behavior that we don't want, and we're solely focusing on that, the thing that we don't want. But instead, we can begin to focus on other things, the things that we can do that take us away, that we can do within 5 minutes, thinking about it. What else can I do instead of this? What is it that I want to do in order to move forward? Next thing on progressing and moving forward is why. Why is very important. Not only to understand why you're moving forward, but also why you're failing. Why you're turning back. What makes you go to the beginning? There's a force, there's something that leads you to go back to where you started. But more importantly, why is it that you want to move forward? See, that creates some kind of tension, some kind of pain. Don't be frightened of pain. Embrace it. Pain for some people can act as a deterrent, something that says, I'm not going this way, the same with fear. But for others, it's a motivator. And not to be masochistic, but it's something that says, actually, being here hurts so much that I want to go somewhere else. And that somewhere else is over there. So I mentioned earlier, what are your obstacles? What is it that gets in your way when you're progressing that derails you and sends you back to the beginning? There are patterns into that. There are patterns that occur again and again, that as you're moving towards that direction, even sometimes when you have enough momentum, can lead you to turn around and go back. A lot of times it's about uncovering beliefs. What is it that you believe about a situation? What is it that you can believe in order for it to drive you forward? What kind of pictures are we making in our mind? What kind of things are we telling ourselves that are actually helping us progress? Because a lot of times, the self-talk that goes around our minds, the images that go around into our minds are actually leading us backwards. And we have to be, again, aware of that. Because when we have these beliefs, when we have these obstacles that they take place, you best believe that when the train is moving forward, it's going to be derailed. And that will lead us to where we started. And like I said earlier, we just need to get back on the bike and keep going again. If you're counting on your progress of how far you've gotten by how many days, stop counting. Like I said earlier, there is only now, there is only today. Again though, time is important. What you want to make sure is that every single day that you show up in this world, you're actually acting on the new pattern, not on the old one. You're doing the new behavior, not the old one. If you have that fallback of doing the old behavior, and you can readjust on the day, readjust on the day. The sooner we get back on track, the better we are. The sooner we keep repeating that new reality, the more it will stick. At the same time, we've had progress, and that progress we cannot negate it. If I've been doing something for like a month and then I fail on one day, can I really negate that month because I went back into a behavior because I had a fallback? And another concept that comes up is perfection. We think because we're starting something, we're going to be doing something new, that everything's going to go to plan. Everything's going to be just perfect. And everything has to be perfect. Otherwise, there's no point in our progress. There's no point in our change. And again, that's a fallacy of belief that everything will go so ever smoothly. It will be so good and nothing will go wrong. And we just be, friction free. We just get there. We just progress. Life doesn't tend to be like that. Life is full of friction. Life is full of derailment. Life is about starting to go one place and ending up another. These are part of life. Life is not perfect. Another important element of moving forward when we have drawbacks is actually to learn how to visualize and how to speak positively to ourselves. Because a lot of times, like I mentioned earlier, we go back into, instead of empowering ourselves, instead of congratulating ourselves on the progress that we made, we're actually focusing again on the drawback. Why this again? Why me again? Why did I fail again? Why did I make this mistake again? It's that kind of negative self-talk that instead of propelling us forward, is keeping us stuck to going backwards. And that we want to be cautious of, because that's what causes the spin. That's what causes the cycle. That's what causes us to keep going. Where do we want to be focusing on? Where are we heading? Where do we want to be focusing on? Showing up today. Where do we want to be focusing on? Doing the right things for us. Notice the drawback. Notice going back. And then we focus very quickly into moving forward by understanding what it was that drove us back. And then focus on the behaviors that we want to be having. Focus on the behaviors of the future, of the now. What is it? Focusing on how you can show up. Yes, understand what happened, why, but you can also do that in a positive way. We can all learn to do in a positive way. We can have a positive self-talk. A talk that actually encourages. A talk to ourselves that actually is loving. It's caring. A talk that can help us. And it can play a major role in our internal psychology. We can learn to use the way we speak to ourselves to our advantage and our benefit. When the baby falls, when they're learning to walk and crawl, no one goes about shouting at them saying, "Why you're not walking? What's the matter with you? Why are you doing this again?" Everyone is actually very loving, very encouraging, and thinking, "Come on, you can do it." We all have that attitude. Come on, you can do it. Because we have that belief in certainty for most babies that they're just about to walk, that this is so fascinating, that this is so exciting, and they can make it happen, and they will make it happen. And that kind of clarity, that kind of vision, and then we articulate that. We give a positive tone. We don't focus on the tripping. We don't focus on the falling. We focus on the walking. And part of being positive with ourselves, not deluded, but saying, I've had this progress, and this has been an important progress. Because if you take me a week ago, a month ago, 6 months ago, I actually never even had that progress. And that's a concept to keep in your mind. When you start a new behavior and you manage to do it for a while, if you had never started, you will have never had that. You would have never seen it. When you start and do something consistently, then you begin to see that it is possible. Since it is possible, you can keep doing that behavior. But learn to be content. We can all learn to be content with where we are. Common thing that I see in our society in general, including myself, is that we're not content with where we are. We all want to be somewhere else. We all want to do something else. We're not happy with this. We're not happy with that. There are always things that we're not happy with. So that's a generic practice of being content with what is. We're not saying, I can't change, there's nothing to do, so I'll be content where I am. I'll never try to do things. But it's about being content right here, right now, with our effort, with our progress, with who we are, and the things that we can do. In summary, learn to be consistent. Despite the drawbacks, despite the moving backwards, Learn to focus on moving forward. Yes, understand what are the things that take you backwards. But keep moving forward. Keep repeating positive behaviors, positive beliefs, and reaffirming new realities into your life. Keep showing up the way you want to show up. Keep being the person you want to be. Remember your why, because the why can drive you. Remember where you're heading, because that will drive you. That's like your compass. It's telling you which way to go. Knowing your why and where will be your compass, and then you'll know whether you're on track or off track. Notice your obstacles, understand them, uncover them, find the beliefs, find the behaviors, find the triggers, find the things that actually drive you from where you were heading back to where you started. And remember, we can all be positive with ourselves. We can all be a little bit more positive. Not self-deluded that we're the best in the world, but actually that we're okay, that we're good enough. That we're good enough to do the things that we want to do. And the thing to remember and the belief to build is to keep pushing forward. When we have a step backwards, we take 2 steps forwards. We have another step backwards, we take 2 steps forwards. That's 4 steps back forwards and 2 steps backwards. You're 2 steps ahead of the game of where you were when you started. And that's what counts, because when you do it with time, you end up going further away to what was, into a new reality, into the way you want to be. Remember, no matter the drawbacks, this too shall pass. This is a belief that can help you go through anything. When you know within you, with certainty, that this too shall pass, because everything changes and passes, no matter how long you're going to have to endure whatever it is you're going through, you have that belief, that guidance that tells you, this too shall pass, this too shall change. As my friend Winston Churchill said, success is stumbling from failure to failure with no loss of enthusiasm. Again, you see the key of consistency, the key of moving forward without demoralizing ourselves, but actually with supporting ourselves. You see, it's that emotional drive behind it that can help us go in the direction that we want to go. Despite the backward steps, we will keep moving forward, because that is the only way out. Remember, I'm here to help you grow, heal, and change. If there's something that resonated with you, something that you need help with, give me a shout at podcast@insidetreasures.com. Please share this podcast with anyone you think may benefit. Until next time, let peace guide your life, love guide your heart, and reason guide your thoughts.